Losing is part of winning. I want to start by saying something that we all know. Constantly, to start a project, we want to have the perfect conditions. We want practically everything in our hands. And yeah, it will be really beautiful that when we start something, things were in our favor. However, most of the time that it's simply a fairy tale. The real world is not rainbow colors, and many times it can be a cruel, mean, and a dirty place. Most of the time, we are not even close to having those perfect conditions. We get frustrated and we give up without even trying. When what we should do is to have the commitment and the burning desire to make the impossible possible. And if the conditions are not perfect, change them. Because if we wait for the conditions to simply come to us, we will probably be left waiting. In the real world, to succeed in many occasions, you are going to experience very hard falls, disappointments, failures, and even pain. However, I prefer the pain of fighting for my dreams than the pain of observing how others do it and waiting to have tried. There comes a moment in our life where we simply have to play to win, but here comes the complicated part, and it is when we lose and we say, what now? I gave everything I could and I lost. It doesn't happen to you because I have felt that feeling. You give your best, but this just doesn't work out. It all ends to the fact that we have not been taught that failure is part of winning. Failure is defined according to Ray as a pitfall and disastrous event. Due to this, we usually compare the word failure as something bad, when it's totally the opposite. But it's how we have learned since our childhood because we are taught that failure is unacceptable. When your mom and dad love you very much but forbid you to fail, they tell you, don't climb that tree because you are gonna fall. And I say, I better not to do it. So you stop doing things because you have afraid of doing something. On many occasions, you have to make mistakes, screw up in order to succeed. The problem is that we want perfect conditions. We want things to be easy, to be in our favor, but none of things come out of nowhere. To be successful, we need to build a structure based on discipline, perseverance, constant willingness to make sacrifice. But it is also normal that on the way of those goals, there are challenges, there are faults, there are walls, and you feel like you can't take it anymore. And we create excuses like, tomorrow I'm gonna do it, or next week I will start. It is not like this. Guys, this mentally is killing dreams and does not allow you to make you, or to bring the best version of you. Goals need persistence, times, and discipline, and it will not be easy. There will be challenge, falls, loss of money, we will lose friends, but what we will never lose is the faith in your dreams, the faith in your project, the faith in you, the faith that no matter the result you have, you will achieve it. When I was a child, I started to play tennis. I lived at that age in a place where there were no people prepared to teach me how to play, and the courts were not in optimal conditions. However, since my dad also played the sport, he started to teach me. For a small child, these were probably not the ideal conditions since I trained alone, and I would rather to train with other group on better courts. This caused me not to take my training seriously and not commit myself as I should. At the age of 11, there was a tournament to choose the two best players who will represent the state in the National Olympics. You can imagine my excitement. I wanted to go, but obviously it was a really tough tournament. I won my first matches, but eventually I lost. Imagine an 11 years old boy feeling like a failure. I remember that boy crying because he couldn't meet his goal. I blamed the conditions in which I trained, and I made a ton of excuses to justify me. Then, I remember my dad telling me that excuses don't win games, and I understood that I have to commit to training if I want to achieve what I wanted. And what happened? Next year, I managed to win the tournament, and I go to the National Olympics representing my states in 2015. All of this because of losing my first attempt. This motivated me to keep me going and try harder to achieve what I wanted. And this is what I mean by losing is part of winning. I want to invite you to look within yourself and ask yourself who you want it to be. Think about what makes you happy. No matter how crazy it sounds to people, make a decision. Decide who are you going to do, what are you going to do, and how are you going to make it. Today, more than ever, the world needs persevering people. Today, more than ever, the world needs leaders. Today, more than ever, the world needs people committed to making this world better. It needs people who, if the conditions are not right, are willing to change them. And that leader is you. Thank you.